People always say they don't make them like they used to, including me. So today we're cutting apart these 40-year-old Nikes to see what's inside of them and see if we can see how they used to build shoes compared to how they maybe build them now, and draw some conclusions if Nike really doesn't make them like they used to. And I'm back from the bear hunt. I'm over the coronavirus, so we should be back to regular schedule, and the Chukka-Boot series starts this weekend. So we got 5 or so Chukka-Boots with different types of Chukka-Boots from different companies to really narrow down what type of Chukka-Boots are best based on what you need them for, and cut apart some of the top Chukka-Boots just to see what's inside of them. So if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. And if you are subscribed, thank you for subscribing. And these vintage Nikes were donated by Marty at BLTV. He's got a YouTube channel, so huge thanks to him, and thank him by going to his channel and checking him out and subscribing to him. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. And this is gonna be more of an exploratory, curiosity-based cut in half, because I don't really have anything to compare it to other than the newer Nikes. And I have no idea what to expect for what's inside of this. So it should be interesting. I hope there's some interesting things in here. So if you guys like this video, let me know, because I would love to kind of cut apart some more vintage stuff so that we can see a timeline of how shoe technology and construction and materials have progressed over the years and decades. So let me know if you like this video. So now let's go over the shoe information. So the brand is obviously Nike. The model, I'm pretty sure it's the all quartz. The colorway as of now is baby blue and off-white or white. They looks more white in the vintage ads. I'm not really sure how much they retailed for, and they're made in China. So that hasn't changed for Nike in a few years. Now let's go over the information that we can gather about these before we cut them in half, starting with the upper. And this upper is probably the most impressive thing, and the thing I like most about these shoes is how thick and how tough this canvas is. This is even thicker and harder and a heavier weave than the Chuck 70s and any other canvas shoe I've cut apart up to this point. So right off the bat, my initial impression of these is I'm super impressed, because I like heavy canvas. It looks cool, it's durable, and I like the heavy canvas. I wish they made more shoes like this more often. And then the classic Nike style, the swooshes and this back tag that looks like leather is a fake leather. It's not that big of a deal because it's a part of the shoe that's not a structural part. It's more for the look, so it's not that big of a deal. But I was pretty surprised for a 40-year-old shoe that it wasn't leather. And then to the inside of the shoe, the lining, it looks like mostly a polyester lining. And if you look at the heel here, it's that classic spot where most shoes wear out, right at the heel, where your heel slips and wears out that fabric. So this really thin knit polyester just did not last long. And then there's a really interesting material on the inside that I don't think is part of the canvas, but it kind of looks like looped, almost like a mini carpet or like a punch needle type material. It's kind of interesting. I feel like I remember seeing this in shoes when I was a kid in the 90s, but I haven't seen it in shoes recently. I don't really know what it's for. Maybe it's moisture wicking, but they don't really use it in shoes as far as I know anymore. Then to the insole. So the insole is not removable, at least it's not anymore. Maybe it was 40 years ago, but it's not anymore. It still has that, and it has that same looping punch needle type fabric for the insole. And then to the construction. So I don't really know how it's constructed because I don't see a strobel stitch on the inside. And if you're not familiar with what a strobel stitch is, it's a stitch that connects the upper to the lasting board underneath of the insole, which we usually see in almost all Nikes that we've cut apart, and basically every tennis shoe that's made now. And I don't see that in here, but for sure it's not a cup sole. It's a cemented construction with the foxing on the outside, which is basically just a tape that wraps around, that's glued, that connects the outsole to the upper. And I really love this rubber toe cap. I love that it wraps pretty far around, and just how chunky and substantial it feels. Obviously it's cracked from time, like just how old it is, but I really like the look of this. I wish they'd re-release this. I think they had a similar shoe 3 or 4 years ago that they call it all quartz, but I wish they'd bring it back because it's cool. And then to the outsole, so you've got that classic herringbone tennis shoe or court shoe pattern. It's obviously really hard now because it's super old. Rubber just kind of gets old with time. I don't know if it dries out or what happens, but it gets old and brittle. So I don't want to judge these shoes on that because they're 40 years old. And then for the overall look of these shoes, I think they're pretty cool. I love the heavy canvas. I like the big fat toe cap. I I like how heavy duty they are. It just seems like it's more of a shoe that was based on function over form, because now it seems like everything takes form first and then function second. And I just like that. I like the look of them. So now that we've gone over the basic information about these shoes, let's cut them in half and see what's inside of them and see if we can find some interesting things inside of this after we talk about Carl Friedrik, sponsors this video, and their luggage. So you might remember Carl Friedrik from when I did the video tearing apart their Vachetta leather briefcase I did with Stridewise, and they've also sponsored a few of the other videos. But today we're looking at their luggage. It has a robust handle and trolley system for comfortable all day and durable for all kinds of travel. It has a zipperless aluminum frame that's really durable and provides rigidity and a premium experience. And it has a structured polycarbonate shell outside designed to withstand the rigors of modern travel. It has TSA approved locks, combination locks that keep your stuff safe. And silent 360-degree Japanese Hinatomo design wheels, so that you can take your suitcase wherever, however you go. The thing that really makes this thing stand out to me is the removable and optional battery for carry-on only to ensure you never run out of juice. Because if you're like me, half the time I'm in an airport, I end up just sitting next to a plug waiting for the person to leave the plug so I can sneak in there and grab it. But with this, you don't have to wait around. You got your own power supply. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. You can personalize it, and it has a 100-day trial. If you don't like it, you can get your money back. I'm a big fan of these guys. I like their products. I like their design. I like the simplicity of everything they do. So thank Carl Friedrik for sponsoring this video, and check out their luggage via the link in my description. Thanks again to Carl Friedrik. Okay, I got it cut in half, and I probably got mesothelioma.
If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma,
whatever, just powdered out of this thing. But let's see what's inside. Okay, aside from the asbestos that came out of this shoe, there's definitely some really good stuff in, and maybe a few bad things. So let's start with the good. So the outsole is at least twice as thick as any other Nike outsole I've seen, which is really cool, because that's the biggest complaint I've had with Nike up to this point, is how thin their little outsoles are. It's so annoying. The next thing really surprised me is that they used a fiberboard insole, or fiberboard lasting board. And we've really only seen that in the Italian and English-made high-end sneakers. So it's really interesting to see that in a vintage shoe that was probably a fairly priced consumer level shoe. The next thing is, obviously, I love that thick canvas upper. And the other thing that was kind of interesting is it's built really similar to an Italian-made sneaker. Like, even the filling inside of here, it's kind of a foamy rubber that you see in Italian sneakers. So I wonder, it's just really weird to see an old sneaker built like a lot of those Italian-made white sneakers that we cut apart. But let's get to the bad. So the first thing with the bad is it's a cemented construction, so there's no Strobel stitch in here. And really the only thing holding this together is the contact cement that's on the sole here and the foxing. But also I've heard that glue back in the day was a little bit stronger before the EPA got involved and some of these other things that were helping people not get cancer from really strong glues and other chemicals. So maybe it was stronger back then. The next thing is another obvious one. Like, I don't know why sneaker companies put the thinnest, cheapest, and most easy to rip and wear through fabric at the heels of every single shoe. Like no one ever structures a heel in a way that's gonna last long. You know, it's always the heel that wears out. This is always rips. So it's a bummer to see that even in this vintage shoe. And other than that, there's not a whole lot of negative aspects. It's a pretty solid built shoe. So the real question is, does Nike make them like they used to? I don't think they do. I don't think they make them like they used to. I think their older shoes are higher quality, better materials,
better pizza, Papa John's,
thicker outsoles. And if they came out with this shoe now with modern materials, updated rubber compounds, the same thick canvas, the Italian style sneaker construction, I would buy the shoe, and I would love this shoe. I think this is really cool to see how much better they used to make shoes, in my opinion. You know, I think they could have some success from releasing a sneaker that's a higher quality, especially if they could get it to a price point it's easy for most people to get into. But you know, then again, most people aren't cutting shoes apart. Most people don't care about the construction. They're just buying Nikes because of the way they look on the outside, not necessarily because of how they function. And that's kind of a bummer. Like, I'm a fan of aesthetics as well and form, but I'm kind of a sucker for function over form. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think these vintage ones are better than the moderns, or is there something I missed in here, or an aspect of this that you think the more modern Nikes are better than the vintage ones? And let me know which vintage shoe I should cut open next if you want to see me cut open some vintage shoes. I want to do maybe like a side-by-side comparison of a vintage compared to the modern offering, maybe like a Stan Smith, so there's a direct comparison rather than a general comparison. Thank you guys for everything you do. If you like this video, consider subscribing. If you are subscribed, thank you so much for everything you guys do. That little click to push the subscribe button is everything to this channel. It makes the biggest difference. And we've got the Chuck a Boot series coming up for the summer boot people. And I'm considering starting a podcast. We haven't quite figured out how we're gonna do it, but I just feel like there's a lot of stuff left on the table, because even though these are 15-minute videos, I could talk forever, and I kind of want to just have a more free-form, conversational way to talk about some of these videos after we've done them, after we've seen some of the comments, and just talk about some stuff that I want to talk about that I don't get to talk about on the channel. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you so much. See ya.
Mesothelioma is a rare cancer linked to asbestos exposure.